I see the rand trading around 690, 691, so we've settled back a little bit from those best levels that we hit last week. I think 6 rand 76, and it looks like the dollar also on the front foot at this stage.
Morning, Stephen. Yes, we saw the rand actually weaken yesterday, despite a bit of dollar weakness actually, and some quite positive earnings estimates out of the US. So is quite a surprise move on as far as the rand's concerned, and we believe it may be attributable to the fact that the Brazilian authorities increased the tax on foreign inflows into their bond market. It's the second time in as many months, I believe, and I think that affected all risky assets and definitely put the rand on the back foot yesterday.
And of course, you mentioned that Tobin tax in Brazil has gone from 2% to 4%, not to 6%, but it really looks like it's had very little effect on the real so far.
Well, Stephen, we did see some weakness come into the real when the announcement was made, but whether that's going to be a sustained effect remains to be seen. And I think that's been the key issue with this debate about how to stem the rand's appreciation, that a lot of these measures have only temporary effects.
And of course, we did have our Director General of the Treasury, Lesetja Kganyago, speaking last week and saying really very difficult for South Africa to go it alone and do anything meaningful. Of course, Gil Marcus, though, the Reserve Bank Governor, speaking today. I'm sure the rand is likely to feature in that speech.
Yes, absolutely, Stephen. Although I think that what people will really be looking for in her speech, besides comments on the rand, will be some indication as to where interest rates are heading. We have the next MPC coming up shortly, and with this recent string of really poor production side data, the market appears to have priced in a very high probability of another rate cut in the next 2 meetings. So I think that will be, besides the rand, one of the key focuses of her talk today.
Of course, we had the IMF yesterday saying that US stimulus, in other words, quantitative easing, is not a done deal. We are getting some housing data out of the United States today, and of course we know that the housing market has been one of the hardest hit. So if that comes in worse than expected, I suppose it would be pointing again towards more quantitative easing.
No, absolutely, Stephen. It was quite a contrarian, I suppose, view from the IMF yesterday, because certainly comments made by the Fed and what they said in their FOMC meetings certainly does lead one to expect that quantitative easing is more a question of when rather than if. But it will obviously be affected by today's housing data. Housing starts are expected to have moderated slightly, but building permits are expected to have increased in the month. And as you say, if there's a disappointing result there, then absolutely quantitative easing then becomes right back into the forefront.